Hello everyone and welcome back to another full English grammar in use with Rojas English. I am Jasmine and today I'll be teaching you everything you need to know about past continuous tense. Go and get your notes and pens ready so we can get started. Past continuous, a past progressive, is used in one of these 7 situations. Yes, you heard that right. 7 situations. Situation number 1. When something started in the past and continued happening for a period of time, and then it finished in the past. So, for example, I was working. It means I started working, for example, at 11 o'clock. It continued for a while, for I don't know how long, but I know it was a period of time, then it finished in the past. Or the action continued during a moment, during a specific time. For example, yesterday at 6 p.m. I was eating dinner, or I was sleeping. Around that specific time, which is 6 p.m., I was eating dinner, or I was sleeping. So the action continued during that moment. Situation number 2. To describe a long action that was happening in the past but was interrupted by a short action. For example, I was working on my project when he called. I was reading my favorite book when they came. So something was happening in the past for a period of time, but then it was interrupted by another action. We use past continuous for the long action and simple past for the short action that happened after. Another example, we were talking when you arrived. Or we can change the order. When you arrived, we were talking. But we have to make sure that we use that comma when we bring the simple past sentence first. Or for example, when you got up, comma, I was still sleeping. Or we can change the order and say, I was still sleeping when you got up. No comma for the second sentence. Or we can use this structure. We can remove when for the simple past sentence and use while before the past continuous sentence. While I was sleeping, you got up. Or we can change the order and say, you got up while I was sleeping. Another example, you arrived while we were talking. We can change the order. While we were talking, comma, you arrived. To sum it up, we use when plus past simple, comma, past continuous, or past continuous plus when past simple. Or we can use while plus past continuous, comma, past simple, or past simple plus while past continuous. Another use for past continuous is when we want to describe several actions that happened in the past at the same time. For example, while my family were talking in the living room, I was lying on my bed reading. While my dog was playing and my mum was cooking something for lunch. So several things were happening at that time. My family were talking, I was reading, my dog was playing, my mum was cooking. So several things were happening at the same time in the past. We can use a past continuous tense when we want to describe the scene in a story before the main action starts. And then we use past simple for that main action. For example, the sun was shining brightly. A couple were walking in the park while holding hands, and 2 girls were playing with a cat while a boy was riding a bike. Then suddenly a man ran towards him and shouted. Some things were happening in the background, like a boy was riding, girls were playing, a couple were walking, and the main thing happened. A man ran and shouted. So all those verbs are in past continuous form And these two actions that are the main actions are in the simple past form. So past continuous tense can be used to describe the background of a story in the past. It can also be used to express a change of mind, plan, or thought that happened in the past. So we wanted to do something first, but then we didn't. For example, I was going to spend the evening at a house, but decided to stay home instead. Nick was planning to come for the holidays, but he changed his plans later. We use past continuous tense when we want to make a polite request, used with the word wonder if, or when we wanted something to happen, used with the word hope. For example, I was wondering if you could come to the party with me. We were wondering if you could help us. They're just the same as asking, could you come to the party or could you help us? I was hoping to meet him, which means I wanted to meet him or can I meet him? On the last days before the wedding, she was hoping that everything would be perfect. And the last use of past continuous tense is when we want to talk about annoying habits or negative repeated actions in the past. So they are no longer true and they are no longer happening. For example, do you remember Marco, a basketball coach? Oh, how can I ever forget? Everybody hated him. He was forever shouting and we were always crying. Often used with the words forever, constantly, always. Now let's get to the structure. The structure is pretty simple for all these three forms: affirmative, negative, and question. For the affirmative, we have subject plus was, were, or the past tense of to be verb, plus verb ing. We use was for the first and the third person singular and were for the rest. For example, I was saying, she was saying, he was saying, it was saying, you were saying, we were saying, they were saying. For the negative form, we have subject plus was, were plus not plus verb ing. So we only add not after the to be verb. And we often use the contracted form of was not and were not, wasn't, weren't. So for example, I wasn't listening, she wasn't listening, he wasn't listening, it wasn't listening, you weren't listening, we weren't listening, they weren't listening. For the question, we've got yes or no questions and WH questions. For the yes or no question, we bring was or were, wasn't or weren't before the subject, and everything remains the same. For example, was she drawing? Yes, she was. No, she wasn't. Were they swimming? Yes, they were. No, they weren't. Weren't you sleeping? Yes, I was. No, I wasn't. Wasn't he watching? Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. Again, we do not use the contracted form for the yes answers. We only use it for the no answers. And for the WH questions, we only use a WH question word before the yes or no question. For example, what were you thinking? Where was he going? Why were you drinking that? Who was singing? And of course, that who takes the place of the subject as well, because we want to know who did it. So the answer must be with the subject. Who was singing? Emily was singing. She was singing. Now let's get to our extra notes. Just as I explained in the present continuous tense video, we do not use ing for the stative verbs. And what stative verbs are? They are verbs related to thoughts, feelings, opinions, or state of being, like want, need, seem, know, believe. So the same thing goes for past continuous tense. we cannot use the ing form, we use the simple past form. For example, it's not correct to say, I was knowing you would come. We say, I knew you would come. He was needing to hear that she loved him. He needed to hear that she loved him. I will tell you more about stative verbs in another video, but for now, we'll stick to our main grammar, past continuous. When adding ing to our verbs, we'll definitely see some spelling changes, which I fully explained in the present continuous video. And all the same things happen here as well. Now, let's practice. Okay, so if we want to make the past continuous form of these sentences, here are the changes. I am studying is a present continuous tense. So we remove that am and we add was. I was studying. I waited for him is the simple past form. If we want to make it past continuous, we should say I was waiting for him. It's the first singular, so we should say was. I was waiting for him. She has driven to work. Our verb is drive, and we need a to be verb in the past form. So we say she was driving to work. When I, her, she sing, we have when at the beginning of the sentence, so we have to use the simple past form. When I saw her, and then we use past continuous. She was singing. So when I saw her, she was singing. He, to me, while we have a while in the middle of the sentence, so we know after while we use past continuous form. While we were talking, and the first sentence must be in the past simple form. He gave it to me while we were talking. In this sentence, we know that several things were happening in the past at the same time. So we weren't paying attention while the teacher was teaching. So the teacher was teaching at the same time we weren't paying any attention. So we weren't paying attention while the teacher was teaching. In this sentence, imagine is a stative verb. So for the past continuous form, we cannot say I wasn't imagining. We use the simple past form. I didn't imagine that this would happen. Now let's make the question forms. Okay, now we want to make the question form of these sentences. We know that we use was or were, the past form of to be verb, at the beginning of the sentence. So we say, was it raining when you left? The second one is a WH question. We have a WH question word before the yes or no question. So we say, what was she making when he saw her? We have when, and when we have when, we use the simple past form. So, what was she making when he saw her? And again, another WH question. It says not right, so we say weren't, we have the subject you. Why weren't you writing? We use the ing form of the verb. Why weren't you writing your book? Now let's correct the mistakes together. You was dancing when I entered your room. Was is only for first and third person singular. For you, we use were. So we say you were dancing. And we have when. When we have when, we have past simple form of the verb after it. So we say entered. When I entered your room. When I was washing the dishes, Mum called. It doesn't sound wrong, but we mostly use a when with a simple past sentence. So we say, when Mum called, I was washing the dishes. Or instead of when, we can use while. While I was washing the dishes, comma, Mom called. I were owning a car. Own is a stative verb, so we cannot use ing with it. We use the past simple form. I owned a car. I owned a car. So that was today's lesson. If you want to learn this tense even better, make sure to write more sentences. Write about yourself, write about somebody else. Think about things that happened in your life in the past for a period of time. Think about what happened, what everybody else was doing, what were you doing, and write them down. Or simply just write simple sentences and add more words. Or each time replace a word with another word in the same role. For example, I was studying. Replace I with another subject. Or replace studying with another verb. Working, eating, drinking, making. Just do it. So thank you all for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. If you have anything to say, leave us a comment. If you got any questions, please do not hesitate to ask us on Instagram. Follow our Instagram pages, rogers.english, rogers.ielts. And for more exercises, you can subscribe to our Telegram channel as we share more stuff for you to practice. Thanks for watching. See you later.